Funding now on Indiegogo, it's Shadowbinders, our second chance offer to get 2 hardcovers of our classic webcomic delivered to your door. Steampunk, fantasy, and romantic comedy from Clownfish Comics. Go to Indiegogo, check out the link in the description below. Now on with the video. Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League, aka the Snyder Cut, the thing that the media was terrified would get made.
Yeah, that was always toxic trolls who fans, any fan that speaks out or gets something made outside of what they want is considered toxic trolls. You heard it with Sonic, Snyder Cut. Now they're trying to get a second Alita movie, and I'm sure that's toxic trolls too. But anyway, so the fans won, the media was pissed.
And the movie, we're going to give our opinion on the movie. We'll talk about it a little bit. We finally were able to watch the whole thing, but you got it so long.
We had to break it up throughout the day.
Yeah, we did. We watched like an hour of it, go do something else, come back, watch another hour of it. And it is nice that they have the chapter breaks. So.
Yeah, he did say that it's no different than watching a mini-series on a streaming service. And if you go by the chapter breaks, he's not wrong. You can watch it episodically like that as well. So you don't have to sit down through one large 4-hour.
Yeah, which was nice. So before we get into it, we got a couple things we want to talk about. One, we are aware there's some controversy in the fandom right now concerning Zack Snyder. We're not going to talk about that in this video. This video is basically our opinions of the movie. We talked a little bit about it on Twitter.
Yeah, we already gave our opinion on what happened on Twitter.
Yeah, and it's a mess. We're not going to go there. And 2, please subscribe to the channel for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We're over 183,000 subs, something like that. So, we don't do a lot of just straight up reviews. And this one's, I don't know if we're going to call it an in-depth review, but it's going to be our impression of the Snyder Cut.
Do we have to have a spoiler alert on this? Because
yeah.
We will, even though the movies are, you already saw that there's a theatrical version, they added stuff.
Spoiler, Darkseid's in it this time.
Oh, no, you don't say.
Oh my god.
My god,
Superman comes back to life.
Oh my god. So yeah, if you don't want to listen to anything spoiled for you, turn it off, even though most of it's probably been spoiled for you already if you've seen the first film. So
yeah, I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid off. My impression of it is that it is a much better movie than the original cut. Infinitely better. Well, maybe not infinitely better, but
it made sense.
It made sense. Yes, thank you. That is, and we talked about this as we're watching it. We're like, oh my god, I actually know what's going on in this movie.
Yeah, I was so lost. I've seen the Justice League movie a couple times, and every time I watch it, I'm still like, but why? Wait, what? Huh? And then you have all this build up, and the end scene is this like over, and you're like, well, then what the hell was that? So anyway,
the end.
Done.
Yeah, and it was like, oh wow, that was shit. Especially when you compare it to the Avengers movies. Now, this I think could actually hold its own against some of the Avengers movies. The only complaint I have about the DCEU in general is the build up is Justice League should have come later.
I agree.
We shouldn't have introduced Aquaman and Cyborg and Flash in a Justice League movie. They should have had solo films first.
I mean, some of them, some of the solo films haven't been out yet, so there's still more to come with that. But I think with the MCU, they did do that right, where they had a lot of the single movies that led into something.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that here, and it showed. Now they fixed a lot of that. They explained a lot of backstory information in this, which is probably why it's 4 hours, because there's a lot of characters you had to explain who had no explanation.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest character arc change was Cyborg.
I agree.
And I guess I'm starting to kind of see now why Ray Fisher was so pissed, because Cyborg was very much a side character in the original cut, and in this one, he takes center stage, and they actually do explain a lot about him, and
these make sense now. At least I'm like, okay, this makes sense. Okay, and they made Flash not as annoying.
I still think Ezra Miller is not a good choice for Barry Allen. He's not Barry Allen. He's annoying as hell. But the lightning looks pretty. He runs weird. He runs really freaking weird.
But he was at least. you could stand him a little bit more in this one than you could in the theatrical release.
There was a whole article on IO9 talking about the wiener scene, about like the metaphor of him touching his wiener in slow-mo, which I
It was pretty funny.
I did. Yeah, it
and
was.
then he fed it to the dogs. What about that part?
Bitches want my wiener. What are you gonna do? Bitches want my wiener. I
can't breathe.
All the bitches want my wiener.
They better not. Anyway,
yeah. So
that's a t-shirt. Bitches want my wiener.
look, the movie made sense. I mean, so I give it props. I give it props for that. We actually know what the hell is going on. They explain the mother boxes well. They explain the history of the mother boxes well. Darkseid's involved. You see and hear Darkseid.
Right.
And you see clearly that Steppenwolf was just a toadie, a flunky for Darkseid.
Yeah, you're like, why does he want his mom? I mean, basically, he's like mother boxes, but if you don't know, you're not familiar with the story, you're like, why? A mother. I'm like, so he's a mama's boy?
I want my mother's box. I'm like, oh my God. That's just wrong.
Stop.
So, yeah, I will give it that. Now, is it the best movie ever made? No. And look, there are some major nitpicks. I don't know if they're major, but nitpicks I have with it. The first one was, I
know where you're going with this.
I played the movie, went to play a movie, and there's a big warning came on, said, hey, the movie is in the aspect ratio Zack Snyder wants it in, which is actually IMAX aspect ratio. Well, that's great, except we don't have an IMAX screen in our house.
Most people don't.
Zack Snyder might. Good on him. We don't. So we're watching it on a standard
Yeah, it really annoyed
TV.
you.
It really did. And so I didn't see the message. I went to go do some businessy stuff because, like I said, we have to break it up because it's too damn long. I come back and I'm like, why is it in 4:3 ratio? Why does it look like it was filmed in 2008? What's going? And I'm like, well, maybe it's just the intro. They're going to do it, and then maybe they'll just kind of expand the screen to widescreen. I mean, I'm like, no, it doesn't happen. So I'm like, okay, what the hell?
Yeah, that is a little annoying.
I'm like, okay, so I Google it. And I'm like, why is it in 4:3? Oh, because of the artistic integrity of the. Okay, that's cool. Doesn't work on a smaller screen.
Yeah, I don't think the 4:3 was a good choice. The second thing that I know that you were like, what the hell about was the musical number.
Yeah. Okay. So for the most part, I agree with a lot of the decisions, the changes in this movie. It definitely padded things out a little bit more, made things make more sense. Kind of reminded me of the Lord of the Rings extended editions in that way, except this was a lot more extensive.
This is a lot more extensive.
Because it just rewrote
it didn't
a
make
lot
sense,
of stuff.
very much sense the first time.
The scene where Bruce Wayne goes to get Aquaman. And Aquaman goes back into the ocean in Norway, Sweden, wherever he's at. And they start singing a song. And then the one girl picks up his sweater and sniffs it.
You joked. You said, she better not sniff that. She better not sniff that. And then she did. And you're like, oh my God.
That was bad.
Why?
That was bad. It was
just. You want to know if it smelled like tuna? I don't understand. I'm like, why?
I don't know.
I'm like, why would you sniff
and
that?
The Joker made the tuna joke about Mara too.
That's true. Which that was funny.
But that I was like, this does not need to be in this movie. This does not need to be in this movie. There were a couple things in here. I'm like, why is this? The epilogue was way too long.
Yeah, some of the music choices, were like, okay. And they were just randomly like, all of a sudden this music would just boom.
Mopey, alt-rock, slow-mo, 80s.
I was just like, what?
It's like, yeah, okay.
And the force majeure pregnancy testing was a little bit. I was like, really? Okay.
So there's
people have watched this. They're like, what the fuck? Sorry, Mom.
Look, it does work better. Now, the biggest surprise, and I was pleasantly surprised, was Martian freaking Manhunter shows up. I was like, it's about fucking time we get Martian Manhunter because he is an integral part of the Justice League, and he was noticeably missing from the DCEU. I'm like, good, we get Martian Manhunter, kind of. I mean, it's kind of, we get Martha Manhunter at first.
Yeah, Martha. Manhunter.
Martha
yes.
Manhunter, and then we get actual, Martian Manhunter, grand shoehorned in at the end. And I think, like you said, it looked like Ben Affleck filmed it years after.
He didn't
because he
look the
looked
same.
older.
Well, here's the thing too. They said that Zack Snyder said that it was not meant to be canon, and that he does it. They'll give him more movies to do. But they kind of set it up so that there could be more movies to do. So I was like, wait a minute, why leave it like that if you knew you weren't going to get anything else? But here's the thing: Rotten Tomatoes. There are over 10,000 ratings it's at 97% audience score.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Fans, he said he had this, fans demanded it, and, he gave it, they put it out, and the audience scores are through the roof.
Yeah. Now, I've heard that it was so heavily streamed it actually crashed HBO Max. We had some issues, I know, it froze for a minute, and then it took a while for it to catch up. I will say that this definitely washed away the rancid taste of Wonder Woman 84.
Speaking of Wonder Woman, they made Wonder Woman amazing in this too. Like, she kicked ass, just like Wonder Woman would. That's my Wonder Woman right there. That's my Wonder Woman. Yes.
Yeah.
I wore my underoos in honor of her.
There you go.
I should have worn them when I watched the movie. I didn't think
have.
to. I should have. We watched it in our room too.
She was wearing pants, by the way.
Yes, I was fully clothed, so it's all good.
Yeah. But no, I think this was kind of an experiment, and I think in that regards it worked, because now studios might look at things and be like, what, maybe the fans weren't wrong. Maybe if there is a better cut of the movie, maybe we should really think about it. If it turns out to be something that drives subscribers to HBO Max, and it wins over detractors of the original movie, then why not do it? I mean, we're kind of looking at Disney Plus. There were rumors that they were going to try to basically retell the sequel, Star Wars sequels as, a series or something. I think that's kind of ridiculous, but if you give people what they want, they'll spend money.
Well, obviously this could have been released. It could not have been released theatrically. It's too long. Unless they made it into 2 films.
2 movies, you could break it. You could break it easy.
But I don't know if the demand would have been there as much, but it still would have done probably way better than what they released.
Oh, yeah. We didn't get Weird Mouth Henry Cavill. That all that stuff was cut.
Well, it made a lot more sense too about Superman. Yeah. All was explained. Far better. At least it made sense. You can come into this movie not seeing the other movies, and it would still make sense.
Yeah, I mean, people are saying it's not perfect.
No, it's not
a perfect movie,
but it did well.
Yeah, but it actually was decent. It was palatable. It was very epic. I mean, it's one thing that the biggest difference I think between the Snyder version of Justice League and Whedon's version of Justice League is, I think in some regards, Snyder gets the DC characters.
Yeah, they feel authentic to themselves.
DC characters.
Flash,
Flash is God no. Horrible. Everybody else, Even though
I would watch a show with Cyborg and Flash, or Cyborg and Aquaman.
Cyborg and Aquaman's. I like Aquaman. But there's like a certain mythos. DC characters are meant to be like gods incarnate. They're meant to be larger than life. And that was the difference with Marvel Comics characters, is when Marvel started doing their comics to be different from DC, they're like, let's make our characters just everyday Joes living in the real world. They don't have fake cities that they're defending. They're in New York, most of them. It's more real. It was more grounded. And you can see that in the Marvel movies. They're all calling each other by their first names and just hang out like people. And like, oh, by the way, we've got superpowers.
Right.
Whereas DC, they're like freaking powerhouses. And you saw that. You saw that in this movie. The action scenes that they were just...
the action scenes that were cut from this version. I said, the ending on the theatrical release, it was like they had this build up to whatever, and then you get to the end, and they didn't have that stupid family living in the wasteland thing, thank God. But it was like, it actually got built up to an epic thing at the end, a really epic thing at the end, not just that, hey, we got in, we breached it, it's over. You know what I mean? It's just, it was much better done. Yeah, they gave more background to the characters. They haven't had their own movies yet, so they made more sense.
Yeah, and Cyborg and Flash actually, they introduced them, but they really didn't have a lot to do. They were just like sidekicks in the Whedon version. But here it's like these two guys that wind up basically saving the day.
They are the key reason that they win.
Spoiler.
Well, obviously they did. They won in the theatrical release too.
Yeah. And Wonder Woman was a complete badass, and it was a solid movie. It just made sense. It does open up the door, and especially since they're doing a New Gods movie. Of course, they're doing it with the woman that directed The Wrinkle in Time, which I don't know how that's gonna work out, but they're doing a New Gods movie, so introducing Darkseid makes sense, obviously, and they do set it up, kind of Infinity War style to his taking the slow train to Earth. Yeah. Like, I'm coming. So
we're
that's
doing it old school.
Doing it old school. We're gonna do it old school. Fire up the ships. We're gonna. But I mean, I think it was worth it. I mean, honestly, I think, again, taking out any drama going on around it, just purely from HBO Max's perspective, I think this was worth the investment. I think it was worth doing. I think, for people who aren't, involved in what's going on the internet, and they're just going to watch, be like, wow, that was actually a much better movie than the other Justice League, which is like completely forgettable.
Right.
It was pretty epic.
I was thinking about at the end they had the epilogue, and which was long and stuff. But it was interesting because they mentioned in the movie that Lois is key, and they don't know what that means. But I think it was interesting though that that Superman could be Superman and keep control of himself unless she gets killed, which is kind of cool, but kind of like dude can't be himself unless he has Lois there. But then I'm like, if something happened to me like that, you'd probably go all black Superman too.
I probably would.
I know you would.
I probably would. I'm good to be honest. I think sometimes a good woman
Geeky is key.
Geeky is key. I think sometimes a good woman keeps a good man from going bad.
I don't think you. Well.
No, I would.
I know you would.
I go scorched earth.
Depending on the circumstance.
I go scorched earth. It's because I love you.
I love you too.
I love you enough to be
People
a bad guy.
You love me enough to be a bad guy. I wouldn't want you to be a bad guy. That's the thing. But you totally would. Anyway,
those are my personal
you could be all
problems.
Henry Cavill.
I could. Fake mouth and everything.
Yeah, that's right.
So I mean, I don't know. Would you give it a rating?
I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. I don't know. I hate being put in a position to have to rate things. Would I watch it again? Yes. In the 4-hour sitting, no. I have to break it up. Hey, but I will tell you, one person that I know was on Facebook, and they were saying about they weren't even going to watch it because they said the first movie was so bad. I don't know why they need a 4-hour version of another version of it. It's probably going to suck. And then I wrote and said, actually, I watched it, and it was actually considerably better, and it made sense. Yeah. And then he messaged back later. He goes, "Oh, I'm halfway through, and yeah, it's way better."
Oh my God! Yeah,
this is like not somebody who's a comic book person, not somebody who. This is a normal person.
Yeah, because I'm sorry, the original Justice League was, I think, an unwatchable mess. Mm-hmm. It was like, you could feel it was two movies smushed together. You had Whedon's kind of jokey Marvel take, and then they had footage from Snyder's version of it, and it was a disjointed mess.
So from that, what I'm saying is, this is like what you guys would say normie person.
A normie, yeah.
Who, just was like somebody going to watch it, and they really said, I don't know why we need this. This is probably going to be dumb. It was bad the first time. Why would I watch 4 hours of the same shit? And then I made the comment, no, it's much better. And then they said, oh yeah, I'm 2 hours into it. So after that, they still started watching it. And they're like, yeah, it's way better. So, for that reason alone, I would definitely give it like a B plus, something like that. What would you say?
I would say if I were going to go on a number scale, I'd give the original Justice League a 4 out of 10.
No, it would suck.
We'd watch it in the background sometimes, but I'm sit there. I know I'd watch scenes. I'm like, I don't even know what the hell is going on.
I watched it when we were on the plane to LA before, and I was like,
I don't even know what's going on. Like, they're introducing new characters, and this guy shows up, and that person, what the hell's a mother box? I don't understand what the fuck is going on. Ooh, joke, ooh, explosion. So the original was a 4 out of 10. I give this one 8 out of 10. It's not a perfect movie. I really think the 4-3
I agree with you.
was kind of a weird choice. I get why he did it, but we don't have IMAX in our house. Sorry.
I would agree with you. It'd be like a B plus A minus, but it was much better than what we got. 4 hours is really long though. So that factors into it too though. Because there was a lot of things they could have taken out that wasn't necessary that really could have, tightened it up some. Yeah. That could have shaved off at least an hour. So,
I think they could have, he easily could have dropped,
but the flip side is if you're an artist and you're given that you could do whatever the hell you want, why not?
Yeah, that's true. It does feel more like a series. I mean, it does set up a sequel. So before people were like, oh, they're just going to scrap the DCU and start over again and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I think the Justice League, the Snyder Cut would determine what the future of the DCEU is. And if it's successful and they continue off of that, and they've already set up and people are receptive. A couple things. I mean, one, this means we might keep seeing more Henry Cavill as Superman, because the Michael B. Jordan Superman
was alternate universe.
Was supposed to be an alternate universe Superman where he's like the president or something. And then, this also gives us proper Wonder Woman. Like,
right.
So I'm kind of like, oh, if Zack Snyder gets to do Wonder Woman 3,
he was the one who wrote the Wonder Woman, the first one.
The treatment.
Which was, which was why it was significantly better.
Yeah.
I don't know. I worry about that though, because he says that it's not canon and they haven't, approved him to do any other movies. So we don't know that. I'm hoping, and they're probably waiting to see how this goes. One thing I also want to mention before we wrap this up that's interesting to me is how the media has been behaving. We pointed out before that a lot of the media that was calling people toxic gave it crappy, scores. But a lot of the media is now like, oh, this is fantastic. This is amazing that they did this. This is such a great thing. It's horrible that trolls are going to ruin it or something like that.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, you guys, no matter what happens, the narrative always is. They're the heroes and everybody else.
The fans are the villains. Always.
Yeah, always.
It's like it doesn't matter. It's like, it kind of reminds me of the X-Men. It's like you're always the bad guy. There might be peace for a little while, but then eventually they're gonna find a way to.
And even if they were the ones being shits the entire time, that suddenly they were the ones on the side of the virtuous side the whole time. Hollywood, send us, give it, pass in the back, and keep kissing our asses. We had your back the entire time, even though we didn't.
The media, God, they attacked the Snyder Cut
and the
fans for so long, and now because there's drama going on, now the media's like, oh, Zach, we got your back. Those fans are awful, aren't they?
Yeah, and which was going to happen no matter what, because it was a no-win situation.
It was no-win situation. But, I mean, just looking at the movie itself, I enjoyed it much, much more than the original. So I think it was
I'd watch it again, not in once.
Yeah.
Where Justice League, if it's on in the background, I'll watch it, but I don't actually sit and watch it. I don't think you've ever watched it straight through.
I tried.
It was just so all over the place.
It was a mess. At least
now it makes sense.
Yeah, so we'll give it that. All right, so we're going to wrap it up?
Yep.
Okay, so please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.